Diabetes is one of the disease. It is our enemy. And how do we fight with an enemy? Your first order of battle is know your enemy. Measure the enemy's strength and plan for defeat. Your enemy is diabetes. Diabetes kills more people than AIDS and breast cancer combined together. Roughly 95% of diabetes is called type 2. We have type 2 diabetes and we have type 1 diabetes. What is diabetes? Diabetes is a serious condition where your blood sugar level is too high. It can happen when your body does not produce enough or when you cannot produce at all. Let's see where this name comes from. 1,000 years ago, Romans and Greeks, they had some understanding of diabetes, even though there was no blood test at that time, but they were able to detect blood sugar through somebody's urine. When they test, any fluid they drink, it passes through or is excreted through their urine quickly as if the way they drink the water. So the name they give it to that is siphon. You know, siphon, when you connect a tank up soup, the way it flows, that it looks like. So they call it siphon. And this is the word diabetes. So roughly, this is the history where diabetes is named. And I said type 1. What is type 1? The type 1 diabetes is called insulin dependent. About 10% of all cases, most often found under the age of 40. Though at the moment it can be at any stage because of the food that we eat. What do we know for type 1 diabetes? It's caused by the body's own immune attacking itself. Eventually, it destroys the beta cells in the pancreas. The pancreas cells are the cells in the body that make the insulin. Insulin is a hormone that regulates when a patient has a type 1 diabetes. Diabetes requires insulin either by injection or by insulin pump in order to survive. Let me explain a bit here. When we eat starch food or sugary food or any fruit and swallow into the stomach for digestion, this glucose, this starch, sugary, and food and fruit convert into a glucose and moves into the bloodstream. As the glucose rises to the body, it detects, as the glucose rises in the bloodstream, the body detects the rising of the sugar. The pancreas, which secretes insulin to regulate the sugar level. In the cells, the insulin unlocks the cells to allow glucose to enter the cells. Glucose level. In type 1 diabetes, the system does not work at all. As I said, when the blood sugar rises, the body detects this by the pancreas. And there's a cell called beta cells, which detect this and secrete insulin to subdue or suppress the rise of the glucose. But in the type 1, there's no such insulin. So they can survive by injecting insulin or putting on the insulin pump. We also have type 2 diabetes. This is almost 95% of all cases are diabetes, type 2 diabetes. Most common in 40s in the white population and over 25 in the South Asian and African population. When the glucose moves into the bloodstream, it cannot go into the cells as a result of the fat deposit. So in this, Type 2, the insulin produced, but it is not enough because of the fat acid that deposits in our body. Insulin cannot open all the doors. Insulin is like a key that opens the cell's door. And because the fatty that contains a lot in our body, it cannot open all the doors, so the insulin cannot enter. The cells cannot accommodate the rising of the glucose to make the energy. We know we need energy to survive, but because the fat deposit in our body is too much, the insulin acting as a key cannot open the cells for the glucose to enter to work in our body. Type 2 diabetes is more genetic disease. However, before you can blame this disease, understand this. Your genetic makeup may have loaded the gun, but the environmental factors, such as the belly fat, such as not eating proper food, such as no activities, such as no regular physical activities, can trigger this gun so that you can contract the diabetes type 2. Not only this, some people, we go to work, we sit down for ages without taking any exercise or without resting, going out and rest. We sit down for 12 hours, 8 hours. It can also lead type 2 diabetes. Standing or lying while watching television is also another cause. Once a person has a mental health like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression is also another risk factor because the person cannot look after him or herself properly. So it ends up with getting such a dangerous disease. During gestational period, when a woman is pregnant, is also another risk factor. Why? Because the placenta and the fetus, they produce hormones. These hormones, secreting hormones that decrease the body's sensitivity to insulin, and this can also cause diabetes. But sometimes I feel as soon as the woman gives birth, the diabetes goes. But it's about only 5 to 10% that remains the thing. So as soon as a woman gives birth, try to consult your GP, check your blood sugar regularly so that you know whether you are still having or you are not having it. Don't forget stress is also cause diabetes. Excessive stress can increase glucose level in a patient with diabetes, predisposing them to long-term complications such as kidney disease, eye disease, neuropathy, vascular disease. Stress reduction is very important. Try to control your stress so that because stress releases cortisol, and this cortisol is not so good. It's a fact that deposits in your blood, and also another form of sugar that is not good for your body. What are the symptoms for you to know that this diabetes or type 1 or type 2 you are really to get? With almost disease, any detection or early detection of diabetes is very important. Silent enemy comes inflict most damage, and these are some of the symptoms: urinary frequency and nighttime urination. Because too much glucose, the blood contains too much glucose. Normally, it can only get rid from your body through your kidney. That's why these are the symptoms. When you see that you are urinating frequently, especially nighttime, is part of the symptoms. Increased anger and taste. You always feel anger, you always feel taste. Why? Because when you are urinating, you pass through a lot of water. And when that happens, you feel tasty and hunger all the time. It also causes irritation, itching. Why? Because, or in the urine. So when you pass through the urine, because the bacteria is sweet, it attracts bacteria, and then eventually you get the private area itching, especially the private side, get itching all the time. So anytime you're experiencing such symptoms, better to check yourself or have a way that you can prevent it. Can also cause blurred vision. You get liquid in your eye. The eye becomes cloudy, and then it also have blurred vision in the long term. Tingling of numbness, and glucose is also time to wound a heal. When you get a wound, it takes time to heal. Why? Because the glucose contains bacteria, and then they infect the area. And anytime there's a in your leg or anywhere with the diabetes, it takes time to be cured. It also repeated or hard to heal infection skin, your gums, vagina, or a bladder. You get a UTI, bladder infection. Some of these symptoms may sometimes simply because you drink too much water. Sometimes you might experience this because sometimes when you are going to bed, you drink more water before you go to bed. But when you see these symptoms persistently increasing, there's a cause of alarm that you need to take a good checkup with your GP. How do we test our blood sugar? I said when your blood sugar is high, that you have a type 1 or type 2 diabetes. Now, when you wake up early in the morning and the blood sugar is below 4, because something called the blood sugar is low. So early in the morning, we are expecting something 4 to 7. That is the healthy target. When the blood sugar is over 7, we call hyperglycemia. Because you wake up early in the morning, you test your blood sugar is 7. You haven't even eaten. It's a little bit higher. So that means you need to check it properly and then see how it goes. Keep on checking. If it is continuous like that, then you seek advice from your GP. If you are a child with a type 1 diabetes, when you wake up before meals as a child, it should be 4 to 10 millimole. After meals as a child, it should be 5 to 9. If you are adult in type 1, when you wake up and before meals, it should be 5 to 7. Before meal, after the day, especially before 2 hours, it should be 4 up to 7. When you finish eating after 2 hours and you want to check, it should be less than 8.5 mils, 5.8 millimole. When you finish eating 2 hours, when you check, it should be less than 8.5 millimoles. Now, some people, because they take some sugar medications and those things, they have to check their blood sugar first before they eat. The reason being that maybe you are taking medication like metformin and you check the blood sugar and it's 4 or 5 or 7. You don't have to take it because if you take it, it will bring the whole thing down. That's why some patients, before they eat, they check their blood they eat. So if you are type 2, make sure you check your blood sugar on your medication before you eat. And then after eating 2 hours time, you can also recheck and see how it goes. I made mention of hypo. The hypo means the blood sugar is too low. It's below 4. So what caused the hypo? The reason is that sometimes you feel maybe you didn't eat, or you miss your snack, or you didn't eat enough carbohydrate, or you do more exercise in the morning. When you are drinking alcohol in the morning, or you are not taking your insulin at that time, when you check your blood sugar, it should go down, and that will be what we call a hypo. And how do you check that you've got a hypo? There will be a symptoms that will show that you are in hypo. You can become feeling shaky, disoriented, sweating, being anxious, irritable, going pale, palpitation, and a fast pulse, and then blurred vision, being hungry, feeling tearful, tiredness, and having a headache, and sometimes too you like concentration. All these symptoms shows that there's something going wrong. Your blood sugar, check it. If it is below 4 or 3 or 2, you can add up something like a glycogel. It's like a gel. You can put some in your lips or the gum, and then, or if you have a glucose tablet, you can also have some, or you have any juice that contains a little bit sugar, you can take it to boost the sugar up. And after that, you have your normal lunch, like maybe sandwich, something like that, to bring it up again. Yeah, because it is hypo, sometimes it's life threatening. You can, if no one is there to help you, or if you don't know what to do, you call 11 or 111 or 999 for ambulance to take you to emergency department where we can sort it for you. We also have hyper. The hyper is also where the blood sugar is also up. What does it mean? When you check your blood sugar and it's maybe 10, 15, 16, sometimes 20, maybe you are even taking a medication, but sometimes it goes high. That one is also emergency. That one, make sure you report or you come to A&E, because when your blood sugar keep on going up, it detects the ketones release, and when ketones get into your blood, it form acid, and that one will not good for your body, and then eventually you lose your kidney. It's really also important for you to also check when the sugar is up. It's an emergency condition. If you are having something or medication, you can take the medication to bring it down. Sometimes some people, they forget to take their medication, that cause that hyperglycemia. It's also another issue. And we also have something called DKA, diabetic acidosis. That one too, when there's no insulin at all, especially this is happening in type 1, especially. Type 2 normally, but type 1 is most affected. There's no sugar, there's no insulin at all. When that happens, it will go against your kidney and it will affect you in the long run. What are the complications of this if this will continue seeing all these? When you are not doing anything, you are not doing exercise, you are not eating healthy food, you are not doing anything, and then it gets worse. These are the long-term complications. Something like kidney disease, we call it diabetic neuropathy. You understand the extra fluid, waste product from your body through urine. High glucose level can damage the small blood vessels and tiny filters in your kidney. This can cause glucose to leak outside, and when this happens, the abnormal amount of protein in your blood can leave your body, and the kidney become ill, filtered, and then it cannot function anymore, and then you need to go for dialysis before you can survive, which is not good for you. You also have diabetic neuropathy. This one, the name is given damage caused by the diabetes. It can affect different types of nerves in your body, including sensory nerves, autonomic and auto nerves. Nerves carry messages. We all know nerves. In our nerves, the body is made up of a lot of nerves. The nerves carry messages to the brain, every part of your body, making it possible for you to see or to hear or feel, move or carry something. Damage to the nerves can therefore cause serious problems in your various parts of the body. For people with diabetes, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, common symptoms can include leg pain, muscles weakness, numbness, tingling, and feet, hands. When you have a sensory neuropathy, affect the nerves that also carry message to the touch. So when you are long-term diabetes, sometimes you can't even feel anything. Even if you touch a fire, you can't even feel because it's getting worse. When it's getting there, you're tingling and numbness, loss of ability to feel, loss of ability to detect changes in the temperature when you lose your joint position, burning or shooting pain, this may be worse at the night. The main danger for sensory neuropathy for someone with the diabetes is loss of feeling in the feet, especially. So you can see that when patient comes to the hospital, you see their legs. When you touch them, they can't even feel. When you when you feel or when you pinch them, they cannot even feel anything. At that time, all the nerves towards the legs, the feet, is damaged, and it can no longer be active. And when that happens, you need to get amputation, which is also the severe case of this disease. Automatic neuropathy. Well, this will also affect the carry information to your organs and the glands. They help to control some functions without consciously detected. For instance, gastroparesis. When food cannot move through the digestive system, eventually the symptom can include bloating, or you can also get constipation or diarrhea. You can also lose bladder control anytime you go to wee. You can also have irregular heartbeat, problem with sweating, either reduced ability to sweat or intolerance of heat sweating. This is also part of the symptoms when you get autonomic neuropathy. We also have dryness, especially in the woman. When we have this is vaginal dryness, which also happen a lot because the blood sugar cannot cause damage to your blood vessels in the vagina. This leads to the lack of lubrication. As a result, sex is always painful. So it's very dangerous for you to check to avoid all such this. Some of the medication also cause, but rather make sure you protect yourself before this problem comes. You also have erectile dysfunction, especially in men for impotency. This affects 40 to 60% of women for men at the age of 50. Eye disease, long-term disease also affect eye and may also lead retinopathy, loss of vision, and eventually this. It can also cause stroke. You know, the stroke also called a mini brain attack. You know, all the brains, all the vessels, because of the fatty, the plaque, and therefore the blood cannot flow through the brain. And what happens is that you eventually affected by transient ischemic stroke, which is give you a blurred straw, and you can also see properly. The good news is that God has given us a lot of things for us to eat so that we can avoid such consequences. So now we battle diabetes, good nutrition. The good news is that God said we must only, you must serve only the Lord your God. If you do, I will bless you with food and water, and I will protect you from illness. When you check Exodus 23:25, this is what God said. You remember during the creation, God gave us fruit, everything to eat for us to become healthy. But when we sin, all this one was what? Vanished from us. After the flood, God, there was a meat, everything. Even though God gave us options, but woman and man, we are all struggling to survive because of this. So God said, eat the fresh food. We got something called bitter lemon, meron. This is a green tropical food contains several antibiotic properties. Cucumber is also very good for a hormone in the pancreas. Said the pancreas, which is responsible for secrete insulin when the blood sugar in our blood is high, is the work of the pancreas. So when you eat more cucumber, you can also contain the rise of the glucose. Cereal has also general anti-diabetic tonic qualities, also help lower your blood sugar. It's also symptoms of metabolic syndrome. So when you eat celery, it can also prevent you from getting high blood pressure, apart from lowering the sugar in your system. Garlic and onion also contain compound that believed to be a reason for antibiotic, which is also very good for type 2 diabetes. Walnut, a handful contain high amount of monosaturated fat. Don't forget some of the fats are monosaturated fat, omega 3, which is very good for our diet. we shouldn't forget to add some of the omega-3 in our food. Almond, a harmful provide vitamin E, magnesium, and the fiber. It's also good for us to eat and then to protect ourselves from this. Don't forget to also add fiber in our food. Try increase fiber in your diet. Dietary fiber is important, helping control diabetes. Fiber slow down digestion and absorb of carbohydrate. This allows for a regular rise in the blood sugar. So when you add more fibers in your diet, it reduce or slow down the absorption of carbohydrate. That will help to reduce the blood sugar. Fiber fruits are pear, broccoli, spinach, berries, pears, Brussels sprouts, beans, and carrots. They are all very good. When you are in type 1 diabetes, avoid sugar altogether and limit starch food. Type 2 diabetes also avoid regular sugar and limit refined starches, including white bread, potatoes, and cereals, and highly processed food. Battle with diabetes activities. Exercising hold important benefit of diabetes. Multiple studies show that those who have physically active in lifestyle are less prone to the diabetes type, especially type 2. This is because physical exercise battles the root of diabetes. Your muscle cells are much less likely to become resistant to insulin. If we keep fit through regular exercise, we can also burn the calories and help you weight control. Type of exercise. You can do any type of exercise like aerobic exercise, walking, cycling, swimming. Lifting weight is also another good for type 2 diabetes. Lifting weight to open your muscles for the insulin or to open the doors for you for the glucose to enter for the energy. But man, when you are doing your aerobic exercise like swimming, running, some people say, "Oh, I'm running," but make sure if you have a heart problem, make sure you consult or your GP before you do that aerobic exercise. You can have a target of heart rate. I found there's a research that when you subtract, like for instance, at the we subtract your age from 220. You subtract your age from 220. I'm talking about the target of, when you are doing exercising, some people, the heart rate, because the normal heart rate to 90, but some of the heart rates jumps 100, 120, 130, 160. Every one of every one of us have their own target. So don't go beyond your target, because if you go beyond your target, you might collapse or something wrong will be happening. And this is how you target your heart rate. Subtract your age from 220. That's the first range, and multiply it by 60% or 0.6. So for instance, at the age of 40, when you subtract 40 from 220, you get 80, 180. So you multiply 180 by 0.6, which is 60%, you get 108. That is the lower side. And then the upper side, the same 40 from 220, you get 180, and you multiply by 0.9, which is 90%. That one will also give you 162. So from 60, 108 up to 162 is the person who is 40. That is the range for the person. If you go beyond 170, 180, stop and relax. Don't go further for that. So maybe in the appropriate time we can explain that further. We can also go with supplement to beat the diabetes. Vitamin D is very, very important. It plays an important role in the secretion of the insulin, helping you to avoid insulin resistance. Not only reduce blood sugar, but also increase the body sensitivity to insulin. So vitamin D is also very good to your system. Finally, Proverbs 18, 20, 21 says, wise wells, satisfy like a good meal. The right word being satisfaction. the tongue that brings death or life. Those who love talk will reap the consequences. This is the Proverb 18, 20, 21. Your body is a temple of God. Keep your body of temple of God clean. Eat the good food, exercise, and keep God healthy always. Because God said, if you are with him, he will be with you and keep you and protect you forever until the kingdom come. This is the end of the lectures.